Hello and welcome to Sport Tonight. I'm Cecilia Mogbe in Lagos. Austin will join me much later on the program, but this is what the show looks like at tonight. We'll be talking about the African Games in Ghana. Of course, Team Nigeria keep winning medals. We're going to be talking cricket on the show. Why? Because cricket made its debut at the African Games at this time around. And Nigeria, of course, the women got the medal, and it was a bronze medal. We'll also be talking about updates from the African Games. That is, we have another weightlifter also winning a gold medal. Interesting, right? The weightlifters are rocking it right there in Accra, in Ghana. We'll take a look at the midweek games from Nigeria Premier League. Lobby Stars retaining top spot. It was a cracker right there in Lafayette Stadium where Lobby Stars had to do everything possible to ensure that they beat Rivers United and retain that top spot. Plateau United did the same thing. We'll be dissecting the games, our midweek games tonight on the show. And of course, a touchdown on the UEFA Champions League. The quarterfinalists, we know their opponent tomorrow, Friday, when UEFA will do the quarterfinals draw. And of course, for us now, for the first time in 14 years, they are in the quarterfinals of the UEFA Champions League. Ateta will get us talking on the show tonight. Austin is ready to join the program.
And everyone joining us on the show tonight. Action-packed world of sports. Yes, quarterfinalists have emerged in UEFA Champions League. And what a story for Arsenal and Barcelona. Let's see if they can advance beyond the quarterfinal stage of the UEFA Champions League. You also talked about what Team Nigeria is doing at the African Games. Beautiful story for cricket. Cricket is making a debut at the competition. Nigeria was lowest ranked team on the continent to feature in cricket, and they got a medal. So some sharing news for sports development in Nigeria. We talked about weightlifting the other day on the show, Cecilia, and they have not stopped. They're still winning gold medals. So this African Games maybe will give other sports the sort of attention that they deserve to get, and not just football from sports officials in Nigeria.
Yeah, that's what African Games does to us when it happens like this. And hopefully, we're looking at the Olympics. That's really where we want to make it big when it comes to other sports. Onifade is on the show tonight. Damilola, it's great to have you join us.
It's good to be back here, Cici. And such a wonderful story to tell as far as Nigerian sport is concerned. I just hope that finally we'll pay attention to other sports. I mean, look at the number of medals we've picked in weightlifting alone.
Yeah.
Football will not give us more than one.
The last time they had 50, remember?
Now, so it's interesting that we don't focus on all these other sports. And but kudos again, let me say that, because I must say that the women have made us proud.
You don't have a choice. It's just what is out there, right? They always do. So it's not the first time. They always do. Every time they go for competition. I mean, on International Women's Day, I was talking to one of my colleagues, Nero, and it was like, I mean, he understands what it is, International Women's Day. Where do we start from talking about the ladies that have actually made us proud over the years? We're trying to outline their success. We discovered that most of these athletes and players, the men are not even, like, they've not, I don't know how to put it.
The distance is wide. The distance is wide. It's not close at all.
We just couldn't compare. I
mean, even if you pick football, how can you compare Super Eagles and Super Falcons?
That's what we started. We started with individual, we're looking at individual players. Started with individual players, trying to compare the most successful Nigerian player, man, with woman. It was hard to actually, it wasn't close at all. All right, let's focus on what we have today. Of course, we're starting with the African Games. And Austin, I mean, weightlifting, talking about Mary Osijo. Yes, she got that gold medal in the 87 kg snatch and jack. And it's what she lifted 128 to win that gold for Nigeria. So more actually coming. I think the internet in Ghana, it's kind of not so good right now. So we're finding it hard to get information right there from Accra to feed across. But what we've gotten is the fact that we have one gold medal this evening, and that's coming from weightlifting. So more obviously will be there. I mean, Austin would mention that, and not just weightlifting, other sports also. But mixed martial arts is what's going to get us talking tonight on the show, because it's also a demonstration sport, not making it debut yet. And hopefully from the next African Games, they will classify it as a medal-winning sport. Right now, it was demonstration in Ghana. And of course, trust Nigeria. 12 medals, 5 of it happens to be gold.
I wonder why this is just a demonstration sport.
Yeah, because it's the first time
Really,
they're trying to embrace it and see.
No, I understand. What I'm saying is I wish it wasn't, that it's a scoring sport. Because, I mean, 12 medals overall. And it just tells you the talent that we have.
Yeah.
All we have to do is just to get our hearts together and administrators doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you go to a competition where really not much is at stake, but then you still see Nigeria beating everybody black and blue and just holding sway all across the continent. 12 medals, fantastic, 5 of 8 gold medals. Whether it's scoring or not, there's something that those athletes can hold on to build on moving forward.
Austin, Miss Martial Arts giving us medals. Yes, it's not part of what we're going to count. Imagine we add that 5 gold to what we already have. We're very close. But it's demonstration sport. And this is what, you know, when Israel Adesanya, you know, when this guy, Usman, when they started this, and we're like, what kind of sport is this? And see what it's done to the country and to all the athletes who really want to be fighters and have this opportunity to be here in Ghana.
You know, Nigerian mixed martial artists in Ghana just saying, if you don't want to give us the medals the right way, then we'll beat you and get the medals, you know. But unfortunately, it's a demonstration sport, and so it won't count. But this is good for the sports in the country. I remember when we had the president of the Mixed Martial Arts Federation worldwide on this show, he said it clearly that Nigeria has got the quality to dominate mixed martial arts worldwide. He didn't just say Africa, he said worldwide.
Yes.
And when Kamaru Usman visited home, Israel Adesanya, and some of the guys who have been promoting mixed martial arts in the background, they keep saying that if Nigeria get an opportunity to, you know, fight or go out for world events, that we will do well. So with this demonstration at the African Games, it's a clear testament that we've got the talent, you know. So what we need to do now is to get it refined, you know. With our population, we've got an ever-growing market for sports, you know. We just lack people who truly understand it, particularly in terms of the technicalities, you know, infrastructure, you know, getting to, you know, do things the right way, long-term planning. By the time we get those sort of people into the conversation of sports development in Nigeria and they get practical with it, Cecilia, I tell you, with the African Games, North Africans will struggle. You know what is working for the North Africans? I looked into everything that they're doing. 2 things, welfare and infrastructure. They take care of their athletes and provide a conducive training environment for their athletes. But the athletes don't even have the sort of mentality that our guys do have, you know. So just imagine if we can just, you know, up the game in terms of welfare and infrastructure. No team in Africa will come close to Nigeria. So I like this story that we've told with mixed martial arts. Now they know that there was one video I saw. I was saying, no, referee, stop this Nigerian girl so she doesn't send someone to the hospital for 9 months, you know.
It was interesting.
It was such a beating. It was humiliating to watch. She was pounding her opponent, you know. So we're strong people, and sometimes when we think about the things we've gone through and our leaders not doing the right things, so when we get an opportunity to express ourselves with mixed martial arts, we will definitely do some.
Come on, Austin, what are you trying to say? Putting the frustration on
aggression on our opponents, and they'll get some good beats in Cecilia.
Now, you talk about North Africans. Now, 2 North African nations actually participated in this demonstration sport, talking about mixed martial arts, Egypt and Libya. I mean, Egypt, they're everywhere. You have Benin Republic, Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, Libya, Egypt, Ghana, Mauritius, Nigeria, Sudan, Togo, and Uganda. Of course, Nigeria topping that medal table, 5 gold medals, 12 overall, and Mauritius second. I was shocked that Mauritius actually came close to Nigeria. So this is where Egypt is not dominating. Why no, when it becomes a medal sport, trust what these guys are going to do after witnessing what happened here in Ghana.
Just to add something to what Austin said, I think the infrastructure, the welfare for the athletes is important. Also, we need to train our trainers. That's also a very key factor. That's one aspect that I think most times we don't easily take attention. Even when we try to do every other thing, we leave that aside. And even when you have the infrastructure and then you put a code that probably cannot handle some of the equipment to train your athlete, is a problem. So we must put that side by side, up our training for our trainers, prepare them for this competition, so that we don't get to a point when this become a scoring event and we are looking for foreigners to train our athletes.
Okay, no, okay, I get that. Oh my,
You didn't see that coming.
I didn't see that at all. I mean, because we're doing it. I mean, I remember when basketball was like, okay, we had to rely on everyone. Just imagine league was going on. And come on.
It's
okay, we don't want to be sad. Let's just celebrate what we are currently going on. Now, cricket, yes, that's going to get my attention because cricket also making its debut at the African Games. And of course, the female yellow greens, yes, they did everything they could, beating Uganda by 3 wickets. And that's how they won a bronze medal. I mean, you know, when I was talking about, when I posted this on Twitter, people were like, Nigerian play cricket. I'm like, you guys forgotten that we play cricket. I've forgotten that, I mean, most schools in Lagos, you know, actually have this. I know so many schools in Lagos who used to play cricket in those days and everything. I mean, when Nigeria was dominating West Africa, we usually read about it. But at a point, he died. I mean, well, like,
he died. One of the reasons why he died was what you mentioned.
came on. I mean, the current president, the way they revived the sport, the way they started with schools, they started with cricket schools, cricket started hosting the T20 tournament. I mean, Austin is going to chip in now. Dumnodi, almost every month, he goes out to Tafawa Balewa Square to cover cricket and bring, I'm like, these guys decided to come on board, revive the sport, and this is what we're reaping right now.
Two things you've mentioned that is important. Number one is that you have a man in place that has passion for the sport and has to find a way to make it work. The second thing was the days when cricket was so popular in our secondary schools. You had secondary schools that had space for cricket. These days, you have secondary schools with less than 2 plots. And so it's becoming a challenge. It's because everything has a foundation. I mean, when we were growing up, I could barely, when I was in secondary school, I could barely see a secondary school with less than, I mean, the smallest is probably about 6 plots, that you even have 2-3 schools in one space. We don't have that anymore. And so it's becoming a challenge for some of these sports that need that kind of space. I mean, this is not table tennis or lawn tennis. You need space for cricket. And that's why I heard somebody asked me the same question today. Said, Nigeria cricket, will they play cricket? I said, yes, we do. I said, we do. And you see, it's good that we did well at these African Games, because the hard work of the Federation over the last 2-3 years is paying off. It's paying off. It's paying off. And I hope that we keep building on it. Even if this particular administration move on and another comes in, hopefully. The structure they built. The structure they built will, because apart from engaging the cricketers, you also have effort in developing the infrastructure. I mean, the Tafawa Balewa cricket over you mentioned wasn't like this when they came on board. They've actually improved on it, and we're seeing the results. Hopefully, we'll continue in that direction.
You know, Austin, you know, as he mentioned, it's hard for people for schools these days to embrace cricket because of the field you need. I mean, the cricket oval is always very important. You need to have that to be able to play the game. But you've been following cricket. I mean, I had to learn cricket from you because I feel you have to stay like hours to watch. But the shorter version T20, yes, I can identify with that. But the others is always difficult.
It's a beautiful game, you know. And Damilola and Cecilia, let me give you guys a bit of history. Cricket has been played in Nigeria since the late 19th century. It's arguably one of the oldest sports that we have played in that country. And that's why it was so big in the federal government colleges. That time it wasn't football. If Igwebi College wants to play King's College, it's a big game of cricket. If federal government college Benin is going to play a federal government college in Ibadan, it's a big game of cricket. So what happened is, when we started getting the glory from football, we started converting those cricket pitches into football pitches and forgot that we can actually keep cricket burning. And that's why you see countries like Zimbabwe, Uganda, even when they can flex muscles with us today with football, they want to ensure that we don't come close to them with cricket. Look at Kenya with track and field. They still do so well with cricket. Look at South Africa. So it's another clear reminder to us that this momentum that we have built now from the African games with the women's team, we must keep it going. Because Cecilia and Damilola, you know our big problems. Now we will come back and we will say, We were the lowest ranked team out of 8 countries. And we managed to end up on the podium. Oh, we did so well. No, there's still a lot of work to be done. The prize for to stay winning is to keep winning, you know. So I like the story that happened with cricket for Nigeria at these African Games. They were so close in the second semi-final game. They lost to Zimbabwe by 5 wickets. And against Uganda, sincerely, I said it was going to be very difficult. But they were fantastic, and they went on to win by 3 wickets to win bronze. A shout out to the batswoman. She did so well. I think she was 11 bats. Salome Sunday. It was because of her batting prowess. Yeah, she was able to, you know, push Team Nigeria all the way. But it was a big, big team effort for the female yellow greens, and I just hope that we will sustain this. That's what I want. I like what the Uyi Akpata Nigeria Cricket Federation board seemed to be doing. Cecilia, when they came on board, they said, okay, we are not about competition. They identified 3 areas where they must do well. They said they will revive the cricket oval in Lagos, the Fabalewa Square. And they put it in good shape now. They invited the international body and the African body, said, come and look, ensure that it's up to standard. And then they said they were going to take cricket back to the schools. Because with that brief history that I told about cricket, you see the schools played an important part. Go and check why we're doing so well with athletics in Nigeria. The schools played an important part. Check why we did so well with football back in the day. The schools, from the academicals to the principal corps, we were doing so well, and that's the foundation, that's the base where development resides. We need to start thinking that way again. That's what all of these African countries are doing now, and they are beginning to catch up. Look at what Cape Verde is doing with their football. Small Madagascar, Gambia. They have gone back to the basics. They're invested in the grassroots, ensuring that they're doing the right thing. I told a beautiful story Cameroon seem to be doing with their football. Now look out for the indomitable lions of Cameroon in the next 4 years. They might suffer a bit, but now they are ready to fight age cheats. Even at the senior national level, they're saying, all of you that lied about your age, you don't have a place in Cameroonian football. Now they are tackling the problem at the roots. Congratulations to Nigeria with this achievement with cricket. Let's do more.
Yeah, we have to do more. Now, athletics, we're talking about the fact that track and field starting next week, and of course, we talked about the fact that AFN released a 50 list. But we can now put a face to the names of these athletes that are actually going for African Games that will be competing for Nigeria. 50 athletes, of course. The regular suspects are out there, from Ruth Usoro to Ese Brume, and of course, Tobiloba Amusan, the world champion. Let's just run through the names of the athletes that are competing, and also the discipline, the various events they will be competing at. So let's start off with this one. I mean, the women's 100 meters hurdle. You have Tobiloba Amusan, Faith Osamuyi, and Stella Ayoleke are doing this. Then for the women's 100 by 2, with the women's 100 meters, the 200, and the 4 by 100 meters relay, you have Justin Eyagboyan, Tobiloba Amusan, of course, Chisom Oyembuchi, Blessing Ogudiron, Olajide Olayinka, and Moferam Abinu Sawa. These are the athletes for these. For the women's 800 meters, you have a Comfort Aniete in that one. A women's high jump, that's where you have a Ruth Usoho, and of course Ruth Usoro. They have a Peace Ewa for the javelin. For the women's long jump, that's where you have Ese Brume, and of course, all of this, I mean, you just take a look at the names of these athletes. For triple jump, you have Christina Ochonogo, and of course, you have Ashley Abuma, Pamela Obiagiri. These are the athletes for these events. So let's take a look at other athletes and, of course, the various disciplines. For the women's 400 meters and 4 by 400 meters relay, Esther Okonyetunde, Shaibu Omolara, Ogumakinja, and Patience Okonjo, she's still here, Joseph Esther, and Brittany Ogumokun. Then for the women's shot put and hammer, Shade Olatoye, and the women's heptathlon, as we have Kemi Peterson, she's also part of that one. Okay, now we come to the men's 100 meters, 200 and 4 by 100 meters men's relay. Regular suspect Usherishe Ishekiri, he's there. Consider Ekene, Israel Okon, Che Ogulewe, Alaba Kintola, Enoch Adegoke, and Fekorede Adekalu for that. For the 400 meters and 4 by 400 meters relay for the men, Dubem Wanchuku and Nathaniel Ezekiel, Chidi Okezie, Sikiru Adeyemi, Samson Nathaniel, Ifeanyi Ojeli, and of course, you have Daniel Atinaya. These are the athletes for that. For the men's 100 meters, 800 meters, that's where Edosa Badin, he was actually at the indoor in Glasgow where he competed. And of course, for the men's 1,500 meters, Hamin Sambo is representing Nigeria, and the men's 110 meters hurdle, Musa Wisdom. These ones are just 1 athletes each. For the men's 400 meters hurdle, Ezekiel Nathaniel, Samson Nathaniel. The men's half marathon, we just have 1 athlete, Adamu Mwanzo. And for the men's long jump, also 1 athlete in this one, you have Emmanuel Unjoko. Men's high jump, you have Fiako Goodluck. And for the shot put, you have 2 athletes, Ugu Emeka and of course Chukwebuka Ezekwechi. He was also right there. And for the men's javelin, you have Samuel Kura and Namdi Chinencherem also in the men's javelin. So these are the athletes competing all African at the African Games in Ghana. And you know, when track and field starts, that's where Kenya, Ethiopia, you start seeing them on the medals table. And of course, Nigeria will show that up. Go on a break. When we come back, we'll be talking about the NPFL. Before we talk about the Nigeria Premier Football League, let's touch down in Abia State, what's currently going on with that state. Yes, some of the athletes are always talking about the governor, what he's doing for sports. And it's not just football. This is coming to para sports. And this time around, we're talking about badminton. Yes, badminton is getting our attention tonight on the show. And what happened in Abia State, the para badminton team representing Nigeria made history on the continent, producing the first player to actually reach the quarterfinals in the Para Badminton World Championship in Thailand. And this happened in February. And now they're coming home to tell us what they actually achieved there. So in Umuahia Township Stadium, where they were honored, the president of Nigeria Para Badminton Federation and of course, and the secretary of the federation said they're actually grateful to the governor for the support for funding para badminton in Nigeria. And that's the way they were able to achieve the success they achieved right there. They had about 4 other athletes who went there: Okoro Lucky Chinyere, you have Eze Chukwebuka, Chukwemeka Ijoma Gift, and Emmanuel Infenacho. These are some of the athletes that actually participated in that one. So according to them, they've actually improved their world ranking through participation in various tournaments. They were in UAE for one, they were in Uganda, they were in Egypt, and of course, and this was because they were able to get sponsorship from the governor of the state. Let's listen to the president of the federation, and then we get reaction for this.
Before the assumption of the governor, Nigerian players in para badminton, they are out of world ranking due to lack of sponsorship to international tournaments. But when the governor of Abia State assumes office, and knowing fully well that Abia State players are the best in Africa, he began to push them for their name to be rewritten in the world ranking list of Badminton World Federation. Today, we have achieved that. Then he also ensured that these players will be in Paralympic Games, Paris 2024. Before now, or even as I'm talking to you, no Nigerian player have been in Paralympic Games with para badminton. But as the governor have come in, these athletes, they have gone through all their qualifying series, and we are hoping when the final list will be out, looking at their ranking in the world, we have so much confidence that these players, we will see them in Paris 2024.
That's the target. Austin, para badminton is actually getting our attention on the show tonight. And the target for these athletes is to be at the Olympics if they're able to go for the qualifying tournament. I love the fact that they've been to different ones already this year to try to get that high ranking and also qualify for the Olympic Games in Paris later in the year.
And that's good preparation. You know, that's the sort of exposure they need. You know, travel out of the country, get to play, put some experience in the bag, you know what it means to fail, and then get back up again to see how they can succeed. I'm also glad they've got their eyes on the prize, the big one, the Paris Olympics. But you see, when the officials started speaking, it couldn't but mention the biggest elephant in the room, and that's funding. And that's why they came back to say thank you to the Abia State governor for supporting them. We want more persons to come into this. All over the world today, we're preaching inclusion. And when you help special athletes, you are a champion of inclusion. You know, we do it at Channels Sports. We support Special Olympics Nigeria. We cover anything that has to do with special athletes because we love them so much. They tell us a beautiful and inspiring story whenever they go out there to represent the country. We go to Olympics, and then we're not talking about able-bodied athletes. When it comes to Paralympics, we're counting nothing less than 10 medals, you know. So it's time for us to support them, give them a reason, you know, to be happy, to put their talent into good use, and, you know, bring glory to the country.
Yeah, it's really important. Another key thing, Damilola, I'll come to you here, is the fact that if only they can actually have a league system somewhere where these athletes will always be, and not just when you're going for competition. If you have a league running round the clock in the state, because with the support that is coming in, that will also actually help some of the athletes.
Extremely important because you need the athletes to be engaged, you need them to improve, and the only way these two can come is to have a regular competition. And the regular competition should be a league on the domestic front. The difference between how we handle these sports and football, basketball is usually the regular engagement of some of these.
Basketball right now in Nigeria is not part of it because there's no league.
I'm saying what should be.
Okay, what should
not
be?
what
Okay.
it is.
Yeah, okay.
That's what it should be. But
so the only league we have running now is
football. That's the only one that we have, both male and female.
No, volleyball. Give it to volleyball.
Volleyball is also
and
handball also
runs
these
guys
regularly.
Are doing great, yes.
And then you can see the improvement. Even in handball, we're playing Mali tomorrow. Handball at the African Games as well. We won our first game against Togo. So for badminton to have a league is just. We shouldn't be thinking about it. What we should be talking about is how to put a structure in place, and hopefully we get the sponsors. But you see, what exactly do you have to sell to sponsors? Yeah. That's the challenge before the federation,
first
president,
start,
and the board.
Then you put something
in place.
Something,
they must
and then
see
they can
what
buy
you want to sell. Exactly. Governors can come in and
go.
And go.
Yeah.
But when you have the structure that even when you are not there can keep running, then it's more sustainable.
Yeah, I mean, talking about that, I mean, Benin Insurance is just an example. With structure actually living and some people living, they find it hard to actually have that continuity they had, you know, when it was really nice and okay. But right now, let's talk about the league. Of course, MPFL, the league, midweek games, interesting games across Nigeria. I mean, we had just one away win, and that was done by Shooting Stars. Who could have thought they would be able to do that? But let's just take a look at the results. Plateau United at home against Gombe was a 4-0. Austin loved this team because they are one of the high-scoring team in the league. Doma United and Shooting Stars. This was the only away game I recorded midweek. And Akwa United and Benin. Akwa United have a way of bouncing back. Once they get beaten by as much as 3-0, they go home and come to Uyo right now. After being to Uyo, this is the second game in Uyo against Eimba. It was the same scoreline. Benin Insurance came visiting. They also had to teach them a lesson right there in Uyo. Heartland and Abia Warriors. I was happy for Heartland. At 2-0 at least. They've left the bottom, and Gombe have dropped to that by virtue of the fact that they lost to Plateau United by 4 goals to nothing. Enugu Rangers went to Kano Pillars to pick up our points right there in Kano. Right, let's check other results. Niger Tornadoes, Sporting Lagos, after that 4-1 battle of Remo Stars in Lagos, they went away and they lost by a lone goal. And for Luby Stars and Rivers United, the game of the midweek, this ended 3-2, 5-goal thriller right there. Remo Stars beating Eimba, bouncing back from that 4-1 humiliation to beat Eimba by a lone goal. Sunshine Stars also winning at home against Katsina United. Kwara United also winning at home against Bayelsa United. Yes, match day 25 is getting closer, and closer. Luby Stars still holding on to that top of the table. Let's start off with the game between Eimba and Remo Stars. Remo Stars came to Lagos. They were well beaten by Sporting Lagos. The shocker. I mean, people are still shocked by that result. I mean, each time I look at the scoreline and I try to watch the highlights of the game, I'm trying to understand what really happened to Remo Stars. But hey, they went home and Eimba came calling, and then they had to at least get something for their fans to celebrate?
I think it's good. I mean, it was a bad loss in Lagos. There is no beautiful way of saying it. It was a bad loss in Lagos. But, and you would have thought that after that loss, there is no other, any other team you want to face in the league would definitely not be Enyimba, because you feel Enyimba will push them. And the results suggest that there was a battle.
Yes, it was a battle.
1-0, but at least some respite for them for being able to come out with a win, because that's what is important. At least get the 3 points, get back on the winning track, and then you move on from there. They are still fourth on the table, not too far from Lobby, just about 4-point difference. So Lobby cannot sleep yet. They are not resting yet. It's just 2 points between Lobby and Plateau United. But I think we are having one of the most competitive seasons in a while. We're having one of those seasons where at this point,
just look at the goals, the way it was scored. I mean, that is worthy of a winning goal.
Of a winning goal, yeah. Fantastic goal. Fantastic.
And the fans were happy. Austin, the Remo Stars bouncing back from that 4-1 defeat in Lagos, beating Enyimba. You saw this coming, right?
You know, I told you it's a good test for Remo Stars. They need to show that they can compete for the title. I want a way to do it. But it was a nervy encounter. Adams Olamilekan goal in the 71st minute calmed nerves, because if Enyimba had dragged down until about the 80th minute, it would have been a draw. Enyimba would just find a way to, snatch a win. So that was a good one for Remo Stars, and it kept them in contention, because they are now back fourth on the log, tied on 42 points with Rangers that are third on the log. So it tells you, I agree with Damilola, that it's very competitive. I tell people, yes, they go, oh, because teams win at home and then blah, blah, blah. No, the league is competitive. When you look at the players, the sort of attention that they give to it, if you look at state governments, the sort of attention that they also give to it, and then if you take a look at the quality of officiating, now that they know it's on television, the league is actually competitive. So shout out to Remo Stars for keeping that fight at the top of the table between Lobby Stars, Plateau United, Rangers. Somehow found a way to get in there. Remo is back in the mix. There's still Enyimba, who loves to win. So we're going to have a proper, in fact, the top 6, it's going to be a fight. But Remo Stars needed to win, and they did. Let's also give a shout out to Shooting Stars. People don't understand how important it was for them to get that win over Doma United. I like Doma, but they've been struggling. I think in their last 3 matches, they've not been able to record a win. So that was a very difficult win for Shooting Stars on the road. Monday Gideon, just at the stroke of halftime, gave them that lead. And you would expect, with all the pressure that Doma United would have mounted on them, they were able to hold character, keep that scoreline, and travel back to Ibadan with it, and it makes it so good for the next Southwest Derby that we're going to be having. I think it's Shooting Stars and Remo Stars, so it will really get that fixture pumped up. Aqua United.
Yes, against Bendel Insurance.
If you can beat Enyimba and you beat Bendel Insurance now, Bendel Insurance and their sites at the top of the table, you start wondering what has been happening to this team all season. Obong Friday with a brace, Suleiman Sani still scoring for the Promise Keepers. They needed to win that one, and they did just that, 3-1 against Bendel Insurance. Bendel Insurance is a very difficult team, particularly when they are traveling within the South-South zone. So that was a very big, very important win for Aqua United. I think they're out of the relegation zone. But no, they're still there. They're 17th on the log. But with this win now, they need to find a way to go away, either hold their ground for a draw or win and then come back to see how they can keep winning. But if you see the way they build up to this goal, the runs and everything, you can tell that they can play football. So what has been happening to the Promise Keepers? So let's just see what will come out of this win. Another important win, Plateau United. They defeated Gombe United 4-0. Plateau United, what else can I say? I told people, look closely at this team. They're not making so much noise. They're keeping their eyes on the prize. They are focused. Second on the log, 2 points separates them and Lobby Stars. Lobby Stars had to fight, dig deep to beat Rivers United 3-2. This is the most competitive league in the world. I don't know. I don't care what anybody wants to say. When you see the results from the midweek, it confirms everything. I just hope that they will keep it going, and then the weekend will give us more fireworks.
Obviously, I mean, we're looking at that game now, the game of the midweek. I mean, Lobby Stars and Rivers United, we knew it was going to be tough, but the way Rivers United actually fought back, going into halftime, it was still 2-1. And then second half, both sides. I mean, you score, I score you.
Well,
we are giving back to you. And then, but somehow, Rivers couldn't hold on. It ended 3-2. Bad travelers, they always are.
I think that if there is one thing Rivers have to look at and try to improve on, is their away run. I think they are not good travelers.
Yeah, at all.
At all, particularly in the league. That's the edge I think Imba will always have over them. There are times you can close your eyes and say Imba will not lose this game. For Rivers United, even if they are playing the bottom place team, you really can't sit down until after 90 minutes.
Yeah.
I think they need to watch that. They have no reason to lose this game. A draw would have done them a lot of good in this particular game, but unfortunately, they left empty-handed.
Yeah, they left empty-handed. But I love the way they fought. I mean, the fighting was something we actually enjoyed. And the chances that they missed, maybe they've converted some of the chances that they missed also. Maybe they would have been able to come out from this game, as you mentioned, maybe the draw. But somehow, it just wasn't to be. And that penalty right there, right to make it that 3-2 wasn't needed at all. But they tried to fight back, as you mentioned, but they just couldn't hold on. And then, for Lobby Stars, they retain the top spot in the Nigeria Premier League. Top spot, yes, that's where they are right now. Plateau United also remained second by virtue of the fact that they also won convincingly at home. Let's just take a look at the table. What is like the top 4 and the bottom 4? Yes, who is leading the pack in the top 4? Lobby Stars leading 46 points from 25 matches, 14 wins so far this season, 7 losses and 4 draws, and goal difference 8. And now Plateau United, that's where they are, the highest scoring side, and that's the reason they're actually here. Goal difference of 15. Yes, closest to them is actually Enugu Rangers. They're on 44 after 25 games. They've drawn 2, losing 9 for Rangers after losing 7 matches this season. Out of 25, they've won 12, and of course they're 42. And Remo Stars complete the top 4 right there on 42 points, having lost 8 this season. Now the bottom 4 is led by Aqua United, of course, the 17th position, 27 after 25 matches, and they've lost 12 games this season. Same thing with Bayelsa United, who started so well this season, but right now not looking good for them. They're on 27 points from 25 games, same number of points, same numbers of games, and same numbers of losses. And the difference, Heartland, of course, who have been at the bottom from the very beginning, they've been able to climb up by that 2-0 win over Abia Warriors on 23 points from 25 games. And of course, we know how many games they've lost this season. They've had more draws than any other team. They've drawn 11 games. That's why they are where they are. But they've lost 10. And for Gombe United, we're doing the counting of how many games they've lost this season. Now they've lost 14 matches, of course, goal difference of -24. They're not just losing games, they're conceding so many goals, and surviving will be very difficult for this team. And they've won just 7 games this season, just like you have in Aqua and Bayelsa, and Heartland have won the list of the games, 4 games they've won this season. Well, hey, 22, that's why they're at the bottom. That 4 goals they conceded from Plateau United didn't help their cause at all. We'll see what the weekend is going to hold for some of these teams, if they will climb out of there or not. All right, let's rest it here for Nigerian Premier League. And quickly, yes, go to UEFA Champions League. The quarterfinalists are all set. Quarterfinalists set. I mean, I was looking at when I was watching the Arsenal game, I was like, what are they going to do? I mean, you got tired. It ended, extra time and penalties. Well, I don't know how Arsenal fans feel anytime they're watching. Yes, in the Premier League, there's always that confidence. It comes because you know, yes, they can. But when it comes to from the FA Cup to, I mean, saw what happened in the Carabao Cup when they crashed out and everything. And then the Champions League, I was afraid. I thought this might just be the bust-up. But somehow, they managed to escape.
Somehow they managed to escape. And I hope that it's not going to count against them, because what I saw against Porto in those 2 legs is that every other team in Europe will probably understand how to set up against Arsenal.
Yeah.
If Porto were a bit more ruthless going forward, they probably should have scored a goal in that particular game, but they were a bit wasteful. Not that Arsenal played badly, but Porto was able to stop them. That fluidity you see in the Premier League you're referencing, we didn't see it. And I also think there was a bit of caution on the part of the players. They were too scared because, I mean, it's a territory they are not so used to.
Were they really scared? Or the game they played, remember the game they played on Saturday? how they managed to grind out that victory.
That victory, maybe that also took a toll on them.
That's what I was thinking.
Maybe
I don't know.
it's also it's probably a factor. But again, when you're also playing an opponent that you're struggling to break down,
yeah,
of course. And as the game wears on, you start that jittery part start coming. That's what you now see from a Man City, a Liverpool, a Real Madrid, because they are used to that. For Arsenal, they're trying to get to that level. And so I think kudos to them so far.
Is that being disrespectful?
Disrespectful? What have they done in the competition?
But they used to be there, right?
They used to be there for 2 years ago. That was 2 years yesterday.
I mean, Austin, there was a picture I saw. I was almost going to come to you at that time, but I didn't want to cut him short. The Pepe is 41 years old. You can see what he did to us. And I was wondering, what does he eat? I need to ask him. I need to find out. He's a 41. He was playing like a 27-year-old boy on the night.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, Pepe is strong, and he loves the man-to-man marking. And if you watch that game, he was telling his teammates, "Don't run with us now. If you do, you'll get tired, and then they will catch you on the counter." So what they did was they tried so hard to ensure Arsenal doesn't go offensive as they would like. So they were a bit deep, and with that, try to force Arsenal to make mistakes. They kicked the Gunners here and there. It's allowed. Football is a contact sport. But we need to, give, some shout out to Arsenal for their character, for showing resilience. Look, if the way they lost it in Porto, that Galeno screamer, Cecilia, is enough to destabilize any team in the second leg. But they needed to get that goal, and Leandro Trossard gave it to them. They tried to see if they can get the winner. It didn't happen. But the lottery worked for them this time around. And Mikel Arteta has been over the moon here in England. He's been talking, saying that everybody can underrate his team, that they're happy to be underdogs. Let's listen to Arteta.
To Mikel Arteta. Hopefully tomorrow we'll be able to bring you that interview when he was talking about how they get into the quarterfinals of the UEFA Champions League for the first time in 14 years. Now let's take a look at the teams that have made it to the quarterfinals, because this team will know who they will be facing when it comes to the UEFA Champions League, the quarterfinal stage. Just take a look at this. You have England, of course. When you go to England, you have two teams from England. That's Manchester City and Arsenal. They made it up. In Spain, you have three teams. Usually always there: Barcelona, Real Madrid, and of course Atletico Madrid, usual suspect. And you go to France, you have just PSG, and in Germany you have Dortmund and Bayern Munich. So this is what is like in the quarterfinals of the UEFA Champions League. So Friday, that's when the draws will be done. These teams will know who they will be facing. I mean, England, two teams, well, it's good. But Spain still got their regular three: Barcelona, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid. Napoli, well, it's not a game you want to talk about because 3-1. Okay, we'll just leave it there. And quickly touch down on this one before we leave the show. Yes, I mean, you look at, Francis Ngannou, UFC fighter, now heavyweight boxer. WBC is ranking him top 10 in ranking him as WBC fighter. And I'm like, where is this coming from? You remember the crushing defeat to Anthony Joshua, but they're looking at the fight against Tyson Fury. I mean, what he did in that fight, and that's the justification for this. But Austin, just bring you in here before we leave the show on this 37-year-old man who, from UFC, now heavyweight boxer, being ranked, top 10 in WBC boxing.
And and they're saying that he had a fantastic debut against Tyson Fury, and I totally agree. Went the distance, even knocked down Tyson Fury, is arguably the best heavyweight boxer in the world. So putting this guy in the top 10, the WBC, they're saying he still came out after that fight. I went on to fight Anthony Joshua, who is a two-time heavyweight world champion of the world. So you cannot look at this kind of guy and say, oh, he's not somebody who is not going to do well with boxing. What happened with Joshua can happen to any boxer. Even Joshua lost to Andy Ruiz when no one expected him to. We've seen shocking results in heavyweight boxing. It takes just one punch. But with Francis Ngannou just coming into professional boxing and then went on to fight Tyson Fury, went all the way, knocked him down, even with Anthony Joshua accepting that fight, was champion's mentality. So I totally agree, So the guys that are in the top 10, if they have some problem, come out to see how you can fight Francis Ngannou, and then we'll know. Yeah, that's it. Before we go, let's just give you some quick updates coming from the Europa League. West Ham United, what a story. They've pushed Freiburg by 5 goals to nothing, and they look just fine for the next round. It's AC Milan 3, Slavia Prague 1, Rangers lost at home to Benfica by a single goal, and the game between Atalanta and Sporting Lisbon is just approaching halftime, and Atalanta, they are down at home. That's Ademola Lookman's team. They're down at home by a single goal to Sporting Lisbon. That's the show. In London, I'm Austin Okonakpan. In everything you do, remember, let's keep talking sports. Bye for now.
Damilola Onifade, it was nice doing this with you.
Yeah, pleasure as always. I enjoyed myself, yeah.
Thank you so much for watching. I'm Cecilia Mogbe. Have a good night, guys.